Hey everyone, ready to jump into the world of AI? Feels like it's everywhere, right? Every day there's a new article about some crazy AI development or warning about AI taking over.
Yeah, it can be overwhelming to keep up with it all.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Especially all the stuff on X lately about AI.
Right. Seems like it's the hot topic.
It is. And that's kind of what we're here to talk about. Help everyone make sense of it all, go a little deeper than just the headlines.
Exactly.
So we thought we'd take a deep dive into a recent episode of this podcast called AI Debates, which we thought had some pretty interesting discussions.
I agree. It had some really good points.
Yeah, they covered a lot of ground, like AI and surveillance, what AI means for the future of jobs, and even how it could revolutionize education. Big stuff.
Huge topics. And what's interesting is they all kind of touch on the same thing.
Oh, yeah?
Like balancing the awesome potential of AI with the need to make sure it's used ethically, making sure it's used responsibly.
Makes sense.
So where should we start?
Well, the AI Debates episode kicked things off with surveillance. They talked a lot about this Eagle Eye AI system in China.
Yeah, that sparked a lot of debate.
I bet. This system is basically designed to monitor the public using AI.
It definitely raises some tough questions.
For sure.
Like, on the one hand, you've got people saying this kind of AI surveillance could be a real game changer for safety.
How so?
Well, think about it. It could analyze video feeds live, spot suspicious activity, and even predict potential crimes before they happen.
Wow. That's like next level security.
It is. Supporters also talk about how it could improve safety in high-crime areas or at big events with tons of people.
So it's kind of like having an extra set of eyes always watching out.
Exactly. Plus, it could free up human officers from doing those routine monitoring tasks.
That makes sense. Let them focus on more complex stuff.
Right, so there's that side of it, the potential benefits. But like with anything, there's another side to consider.
The downsides.
Yeah. Like, what about our privacy? If we know we're constantly being watched, does that change how we act? How freely we express ourselves?
That's a good point. It could definitely make people think twice.
Right. It's what some people call a chilling effect. And then there's the whole issue of what that data could be used for beyond security.
Oh, right. Like, what if it's used for things like social scoring or manipulating people or targeting them based on their beliefs or something?
Exactly. Those are serious concerns. It seems like finding that balance between safety and privacy is going to be crucial.
It definitely feels like a tricky situation.
It is. And it's not like there aren't any models out there for how to handle this.
You mean like guidelines or something?
Yeah, like Europe's GDPR. It's basically like a digital bill of rights focused on privacy. It could be a good starting point for figuring out how to regulate AI surveillance and make sure people's data is protected.
That makes sense.
And beyond just regulations, we need to think about the values that are built into these AI systems.
Oh, okay. How so?
Well, can we make them transparent, accountable? Can we understand how they're making decisions and who's responsible if something goes wrong? These are big questions we need to grapple with.
Yeah, that's a lot to consider. Maybe we should switch gears a bit and talk about jobs. AI Debates also brought up Autotask.
Ah, yes. Another fascinating development.
This AI system is meant to automate those, like, administrative tasks that a lot of people do.
A lot of folks see that as a huge plus.
How come?
Well, think about it. Automating those kinds of tasks could really boost efficiency, right?
Right.
And that usually means lower costs for businesses and more room for innovation.
I see. It kind of frees everyone up to focus on the bigger picture.
Exactly. But the big question, the one that's on a lot of people's minds, is what happens to the folks whose jobs are automated?
Yeah, that's a real concern.
It is. Especially for those in routine or lower paying jobs, it's a valid fear that many people have.
So, are we all just going to be replaced by robots?
Not necessarily. There are different ideas floating around about how to deal with this.
Okay, like what?
Well, some folks talk about universal basic income.
Like everyone gets a base income, regardless of whether they have a job or not.
Exactly. Others suggest massive retraining programs to help people adapt to this new AI-powered economy.
So maybe instead of just fearing AI taking our jobs,
Yeah.
we need to look at it as a chance to, I don't know, rethink work altogether.
Yeah. Create new kinds of jobs, make sure everyone benefits from the economic growth that AI could bring.
I like that.
And it brings up another important point, the role of businesses. The companies developing this tech have a responsibility, too,
To do what?
to consider the impact on their employees. Invest in retraining programs, support things like UBI, make sure there's a just transition to this new world of work.
So it's not just on the workers to figure this out, it's on the companies too.
Absolutely, it's a shared responsibility. And it's not just about the economics either.
What do you mean?
Well, losing a job can be tough, even if you have a financial safety net. It can impact someone's sense of purpose, their identity.
You're right. That's a really good point. It's about people's lives, not just their paychecks.
Exactly. So as we move into this AI-driven economy, we need to do it with empathy, with a focus on supporting people through these big changes.
That makes a lot of sense. Speaking of big changes, are we ready to dive into AI in education?
So let's do it.
The AI debates folks spent some time on EduMaster AI, this system that can actually deliver entire courses and create a personalized learning plan for each student.
It does sound pretty futuristic, doesn't it?
It does, like something straight out of a sci-fi movie.
And honestly, it has the potential to really change the game for education.
In what way?
Imagine a world where every student gets a personalized education, perfectly tailored to their needs and how they learn best.
That would be amazing.
Right. AI could figure out their strengths and weaknesses where they need extra help, and then adjust the lessons in real time to help them learn better.
It's like having a personal tutor for every single student.
It really is. And think about what that could mean for teachers. They'd have more time to mentor students, do creative projects, really build relationships with them.
Wow, that would free up a ton of time.
Right. AI could handle stuff like grading, lesson plans, even teaching some of the basic material.
It sounds awesome, but I can't help but wonder, are teachers going to be replaced by robots?
That's the big debate, isn't it? And while AI can definitely make education better in a lot of ways, I think it's really important to remember that there are things about teaching that are uniquely human.
Like what?
Well, think about it. Good teachers don't just teach facts, they inspire their students. They connect with them on an emotional level, they encourage them to think critically and creatively.
Those are things that are pretty hard to program into an algorithm.
Exactly. They create a supportive environment where kids feel safe to take risks, ask questions, discover what they're passionate about. Those are human qualities that are so important, we can't lose sight of that.
So maybe it's about finding that balance again, like we talked about with surveillance. Using AI to make teaching better, not replace it altogether.
Exactly. We need to be thoughtful about how we bring AI into the classroom, make sure it supports teachers, not undermines them. And we have to think about things like access, too.
Oh, right. What about students who might not have the technology they need to use these fancy AI learning tools?
It's a valid concern. As we develop this technology, we need to make sure it's available to all students, no matter their background or where they live.
So it's about a lot more than just the tech itself. It's about how we use it, who has access to it, and what values we're prioritizing as we integrate AI into our lives.
You nailed it. We need to be making conscious choices, having open and honest conversations about both the good and the bad, and working together to make sure AI benefits everyone.
It feels like we've covered a lot of ground already, just with these three topics: surveillance, the future of jobs, and AI in education.
We have. They're all complex issues.
They are. So what are some of the main things you hope people will take away from this conversation?
I think what stands out to me is that through each of these topics, there's this tension between AI's potential and our responsibility to manage its impact. It's not about saying yes or no to AI. It's about being part of the conversation, weighing the good and the bad, and actively shaping the future we want to see.
And that future isn't set in stone. It's happening right now.
Yeah.
And we all have a say in how it unfolds.
Absolutely. But it takes being informed, being engaged, and maybe even being a little brave.
It's easy to get caught up in the hype or the fear surrounding AI. But what's harder, and ultimately more rewarding, is approaching it with this critical but optimistic mindset. Ask the tough questions, make sure AI is developed ethically, and hold each other accountable to making sure AI is a force for good in the world. I love that. Critical but optimistic. It's about seeing the challenges but not letting them stop us from moving forward. Believing that we can shape technology to reflect our values and what we want the world to be.
I couldn't agree more. And that brings us to the question of what we can actually do about all of this. What are the steps we can take to make sure AI is developed responsibly? What can we do as individuals and as a society to steer things in the right direction?
I'm all ears. Let's talk solutions.
It's like we were saying, we need to make sure that AI is serving humanity, not the other way around.
Totally. So how do we make sure that happens? Where do we even start?
Transparency is a big one. We
Yeah.
got to be able to understand how these AI systems work, how they make their decisions.
So it's not just a black box. We can actually see what's going on inside.
Right. It's like, imagine you go to a restaurant and the kitchen is completely sealed off. You can't see the ingredients or how they're preparing the food. Would you feel comfortable eating there?
Probably not.
Exactly. It's the same with AI. If we don't know what's going on under the hood, how can we trust it? How do we know it's not biased or discriminatory or even
That
dangerous?
makes total sense.
Yeah.
So we need to be able to peek behind the curtain and see what's happening.
Yep.
We need to know things like what data was used to train the AI, what assumptions are built into the algorithms. That's especially important to avoid bias, especially in sensitive areas like facial recognition or loan applications.
Oh, yeah. Or in healthcare. Like, you don't want an AI making medical decisions based on faulty data.
Exactly. And it's not just about the data, it's also about the values that are baked into these systems.
Right.
Do they prioritize things like privacy and accountability?
Right. Like, what happens if something goes wrong? Who's responsible?
Exactly. And this is where things get really interesting because different cultures might have different ethical priorities when it comes to AI.
Oh, yeah. What's considered ethical in one country might not be in another.
Exactly. So we need to have these global conversations about AI ethics. We need to try to find some common ground, some shared principles.
So, like a set of international guidelines or something.
Exactly. Kind of like the international laws we have around human rights or environmental protection. We
Yeah.
need something similar for AI.
That sounds like a tall order.
Yeah.
How do we get everyone on board? It is a challenge, for sure. But I think more and more people are realizing that AI is just too powerful to be left unchecked.
Yeah. It's impacting all of us, whether we realize it or not.
Exactly. And I think it's in everyone's best interest to make sure it's developed ethically and responsibly.
It's like we're all in the same boat, and AI is the engine. We need to make sure we're steering in the right direction.
Exactly. And that means getting everyone involved in the conversation. We need ethicists, philosophers, social scientists, even artists.
Whoa, artist. What do they have to do with AI?
A lot, actually. Artists help us imagine possibilities, challenge our assumptions, and explore the human side of technology. They bring a different perspective to the table.
I see what you mean. It's about bringing that human element into the equation.
Exactly. And I think it's important to remember that all this talk about risks and regulations can sometimes overshadow the incredible potential of AI.
Right. AI isn't just a threat. It's also a tool that can be used to solve some of humanity's biggest problems.
Exactly. Think about things like climate change, disease, poverty. AI could help us develop clean energy solutions, create personalized medical treatments, even improve access to education.
It's mind-blowing when you think about all the possibility.
It is. But to realize that potential, we need to make sure that we're developing AI responsibly and ethically.
So we can't lose sight of that bigger picture, the good that AI can do.
That's right. We need to approach this with a sense of shared responsibility, a commitment to using this technology for the benefit of all humankind, not just a select few. And that's where you, the listener, come in.
That's right. We're not just talking to ourselves here.
It's easy to feel like this is all too big, too complex to do anything about. But everyone has a role to play.
So what can we do?
Well, for starters, stay informed. Don't just skim the headlines. Dive deeper into the issues, read articles, listen to podcasts, talk to people.
Yeah, don't just scroll past those AI stories on X.
Right. The more you understand about AI, the better equipped you'll be to navigate this crazy world we're living in.
Knowledge is power. But what about beyond staying informed? How can we actually make a difference?
Well, you can support organizations that are advocating for responsible AI. There are tons of groups out there, NGOs, think tanks, even government agencies working on ethical guidelines and regulations.
So put your money where your mouth is.
Exactly. You can also vote with your wallet.
What do you mean by that?
Well, as AI becomes more common in products and services, pay attention to how companies are using it. Ask questions, demand transparency, and choose to support the businesses that are aligned with your values.
So we can actually influence how AI is being used just by being mindful consumers.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to have those tough conversations. Talk to your friends and family about these issues. Share your concerns, your hopes, your
Get
ideas.
those conversations going.
Right. The more we talk about these issues, the more we normalize them, the more likely we are to see real change happen.
So it's about shifting the culture, making responsible AI the norm, not the exception.
Absolutely. And remember, this isn't just about preventing bad things from happening. It's also about unlocking the amazing potential of AI to make the world a better place.
I like that.
What are you passionate about? Is it poverty, climate change, healthcare? Think about how AI could be used to make a difference in those areas. Share your ideas, connect with others who are working on similar solutions, and be part of the movement to create a future where AI is a force for good.
So channel that passion into action. Don't just worry about the what-ifs. Focus on the what could-bes.
Exactly. And remember, this conversation about AI is ongoing. It's always evolving. We have to keep learning and adapting. But it's a conversation worth having, a future worth fighting for.
Absolutely. Well, I think this has been a pretty amazing deep dive into the world of AI. We've covered so much ground, from the potential risks to the incredibly exciting
We
possibilities.
have. It's a lot to take in.
It is. But if there's one thing I hope everyone listening takes away from this conversation, it's this. The future of AI is not set in stone. It's being shaped right now. And we all have a say in what that future looks like.
That's so important to remember.
So go out there, stay informed, keep learning, and keep those conversations going. Let's create a future where AI is a force for good in the world.
So we've talked about staying informed, supporting the right organizations, being mindful consumers. But what about actually putting these ideas into practice? Like, what are some concrete things people can do in their own lives to make a difference?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's one thing to talk about responsible AI. It's another to actually live it.
Right. It's kind of like with anything, it's about making it part of your daily routine.
Okay, so what does that look like for AI?
Well, think about the things you use every day. Your phone, your computer, all the apps and services you rely on.
It's like AI is everywhere these days.
It really is. And it's only going to become more prevalent. So the next time you download a new app or sign up for a service, take a minute to look into how they're using AI.
As they even say.
Sometimes they do. Sometimes you have to dig a little deeper. But try to find out. Are they using AI in a way that aligns with your values? Are they transparent about how they're collecting and using your data?
So it's like doing your research before you buy something, but for AI.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to ask questions. If you're not sure how a company is using AI, reach out to their customer support or look for information on their website.
Makes sense.
And if you don't like what you see, vote with your wallet. Choose to support companies that are doing AI the right way, the responsible way.
It's about making a conscious choice about where we spend our money and who we support.
Exactly. Every little bit helps. And sometimes the simplest actions can be the most powerful. Like just talking to people about this stuff, having conversations with your friends, your family, your colleagues.
Yeah, spread the word.
Right. The more we talk about this, the more we normalize it, the more likely we are to see real change happen.
It's like planting those seeds of awareness.
Exactly. You never know who you might inspire to take action. And, we can't forget about all the amazing things AI can do. We talked about the potential risks, but there's so much potential for good, too.
Right. Like we've just scratched the surface of what AI can do.
Exactly. Think about all the problems we're facing as a society. Climate change, poverty, disease.
Ugh.
AI could play a huge role in solving those problems.
It's exciting to think about.
It is. But to unlock that potential, we need to make sure we're developing it ethically, responsibly.
So it's not just about avoiding the bad stuff. It's about actively pursuing the good stuff.
Exactly. It's about using AI to create a better future for everyone.
I love that. Well, I think this has been an incredible deep dive into the world of AI and society. We've covered so much.
We have. It's a big topic.
It is. But I think the most important thing for people to remember is that the future of AI is not set in stone. It's being shaped right now, and we all have a role to play.
That's so true. It's up to all of us to make sure AI is a force for good in the world.
Well said. So to everyone listening, go out there, stay informed, stay engaged, and keep those conversations going. Let's build that future together.
Thanks for joining us for another deep dive. We'll catch you next time.